Hi, I'm Daniel with Plumpy Thimble, and today we're going to be taking a look at my top games of all time that I've played in the last 2 years. Look, about 2 years ago I made a list of my top 10 games of all time, and some of those games still remain on the actual list. But today we're taking a look at something a little bit different. It's been a weird 2 years, and I haven't gotten to play some of the games that I would consider my absolute favorites in the last 2 years. Number 10 is Chronicles of Crime. It's a game that relies heavily on an app to move things along, which is something that I've been inadvertently avoiding for a long period of time. And I regret doing so because Chronicles of Crime is fantastic. It takes away the fiddly nature of something like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective and delegates some of that fiddliness to technology that we all have. What this is it's a crime-solving game. You're presented with a crime and you can interrogate people, investigate crime scenes, and kind of do all sorts of cool things. It mixes the best worlds of a video game, a board game, and a mystery novel, and that's why it's my number 10 favorite game. Who is this game for? It's for aspiring discount bin Sherlock Holmes. Number 9 on my list is Wingspan, a game that blew onto the scene and has sort of bled out of the hobby market into a more mainstream audience, which is pretty cool for a board game. It's an engine building game that utilizes cards with lots of factoids about birds. It's a game about bird watching. And one for the theme I really enjoyed. It's a game that makes me feel like I'm doing something, and it makes me feel like I'm getting smarter by playing, while simultaneously at the end when it comes to scoring, realizing that I am should have knocked that confidence down a couple notches. Who is this game for? It's a game for people that love nature or hate it but like the idea of it. My number 8 is Calico. This puzzle of a game has you creating quilts and making patterns that attract little kittens and put buttons onto these quilts. Thematically, that's what it is anyway. Mechanically speaking, it's a difficult puzzle that gives you simple options on your turn, but with those options you have to utilize and work in a space that is ever decreasing as you play. It is deceptively simple looking and incredibly crunchy and thinky and delicious, and I love it. And honestly, I mean, in terms of future games, anything that's got flat out games on it, I'm excited about. They currently have sort of the Midas touch in terms of spatial puzzle games, and I've loved just about everything that I've played that they have put out. Who is this for? It's for people that like things that look cute, but also really like things that hurt your head. My number 7 is Crusaders Thy Will Be Done. In this game, you are an order of knights trying to increase your influence across the map. It's a fairly straightforward concept. It uses a rondel mechanism and foregoes the idea of dice rolling combat in favor of sort of a thinky puzzle in terms of how to use the rondel, how to use those action points to best spread your influence. There's multiple paths that you can take, and ultimately you are just trying to defeat your opponent or opponents in this game. It is a brisk little history game and is a lot of fun to play, easy to explain, and thoroughly enjoyable to get on the table. Who is this for? It's for people that like to abstract and dilute their history down to fun little game mechanisms. My number 6 is Agricola, a game whose tagline could be so little time and so much to do. In this game, you are farmers and you're trying to feed your family, grow a farm, build your house. There's a lot to do and a little time to do it. And it's that stress that really makes me enjoy this game. There's a lot of options, a lot of different things that you can do in this box, and you're not going to be able to do them all. Now that stress and that worry of not being able to get through everything that you want to do, that's the enticement for me. It is and has remained a very popular game for a very good reason, and it's one that I absolutely adore. Who is this game for? It's for people that think intermittent fasting is a lot of fun. My number 5 is Cristalo, a solo game that is probably one of the most games I've played in my entire collection. In this spatial puzzle, you are attempting to free mystical animals and you're trying to fight a dragon. It's all fairly abstracted in the idea that you're creating a cavern and you're trying to match up different shapes, these crystals together. If you're familiar with the game set, it uses a similar type mechanism in terms of how to make those sets. And while I assumed this game was far too difficult when I first played it, having it be one of the most played games in my collection, I can now beat it about 60 to 70% of the time, which is right in that sweet spot of where I want a solo game to be. And as a spatial puzzle and a spatial experience, it's a lot of fun and one that I thoroughly, absolutely recommend to anybody that will listen. Who is this game for? It's for people that enjoy playing set and feeling dumb. My number 4 is Role Player, and if it hasn't become obvious yet, I'll just outright say it. I really enjoy puzzly games, especially ones that can be played solo, which has come in handy a lot over the last 2 years in terms of getting more games to the table. In Role Player, you're putting together an adventure. You're creating stats for them, a backstory, and all that is just surface level facade for the idea of you're placing numbers on a board and trying to optimize those numbers and get the exact numbers that you want. There's multiple ways to manipulate the dice, and it is, first and foremost, a very fun little puzzle. So who's this game for? This game is for the Count from Sesame Street, if he was really into D&D. My number 3 is the Quacks of Quedlinburg, once the new hotness, now an oldie and goldie. It's a press your luck game where you're buying lots of ingredients, throwing them all into the bag, and pulling them out one by one in the hopes that you don't get too many of the white berries, snow berries, whatever they are. You don't want to get the bad berry. And you can stop whenever you'd like, but if you pull too many of the bad berries in a round, your potion explodes and you don't get points or you don't get money, you get to choose. But the further you can go without pulling those bad berries, the better your score is at the end of the game. So buying ingredients that optimize what you pull, when you pull, and mitigating some of your risk is the name of the game. It's a ton of fun, and it's a game that I really love to get to the table and can get to the table because everyone that I played it with really enjoys the Quacks of Quedlinburg. So who is this game for? It's for the young and the restless, and the old and the careful, and everybody in between. My number 2 is Viticulture, and more specifically Essential Edition, and even more specifically with the Tuscany Essential Edition expansion. In this game, you run a vineyard. The way to win is to get more points than everybody else, faster than everyone else. It's a race to the finish, essentially, and in Viticulture, there's lots of ways to get those points. You can do it by cards, you can primarily get points by creating and fulfilling orders, but you first have to create the wine and age it appropriately, and there's lots of ways to do that and to advance your progress. So this is a game where they basically throw 100 balls up in the air. Now your one goal is to catch one that gets you points. And there's lots of ways to do it. And so finding the best route to get to the end game varies each specific game because the cards in it, but I adore it. It's a journey every time I play it, and it's one that I mean, aside from it looking fantastic, it is a blast to play. So who is this game for? It's for the resourceful entrepreneur or the chaotic alcoholic. And my number 1 game is Star Wars Outer Rim, a fairly new-ish game to me, but one that I've absolutely fallen in love with because 1, I do really adore Star Wars. And 2, this game is almost exactly what I was looking for in a sandbox game. In this, you play a pilot in Star Wars, a named one of the main major characters, and you get to fly around the galaxy and, well, pretty much do whatever you want. Do you want to be a bounty hunter? Do you want to be a smuggler? Do you want to work for the Empire? Do you want to try to work for the Rebellion? You get to decide your fate, but the one goal that everyone has is try to get 10 points before everyone else. That's it, and there's lots of different ways to get points. Thematically speaking, it's incredibly deep because you are creating these narratives. There's lots of cards in the games, and even more so if you get the expansion. And you draft this narrative every time you play this game. I played as Han Solo, and I was racing around the galaxy trying to hunt down Chewie for a bounty in a game. It varies from the Star Wars canon, but it's a lot of fun each time that I play. I'm super excited to dig into the expansion that I just got for it. So who is this game for? It is for anybody that enjoys Star Wars or fun. So that's it. While this may not be my definitive top 10 list, it is the top 10 games that I have played in the last 2 years. And each one of them I would gladly play at any point. Thank you so much for watching. What are your favorite games or favorite games that you've played recently? What games do you wish you could get to the table more that are on your top 10 list that you just haven't been able to play in a while? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, here, all that good stuff. And I'll see you next time.